Hello guys, welcome back. And today we're going to talk about AWS autoscaling. What is AWS autoscaling? AWS autoscaling is used to automatically adjust the number of Amazon EC2 instances in an autoscaling group based on real-time demand. It is a fundamental component of building scalable and efficient applications on AWS. And before we jump and start building it, I want to talk about some key points. The first key point is cost optimization. That means with AWS autoscaling, you can optimize cost by running the right number of instances to handle the current workload. It automatically adds instances during high traffic periods and reduces them during low traffic period, ensuring that you only pay for what you need. The second key point is high availability. That means autoscaling helps achieve high availability by distributing instances across multiple availability zones. If one availability zone becomes unavailable, the autoscaling group automatically launch instances in another healthy availability zone, ensuring that your application remains accessible. The last and the most important key point is that predictable performance. That means that by maintaining a consistent workload on each instance, autoscaling can help ensure that the application performance is predictable. In summary, AWS autoscaling offers a cost-effective and efficient way to manage your application infrastructure, ensuring that you have the right amount of resources available at all times to meet demand while minimizing cost and maximizing availability. Let's jump on it and start building our infrastructure. The first thing we're going to do is to build our infrastructure and make sure that our HTTP server is accessible. Here's how we're going to do it. The first thing we're going to do is to log into our AWS console. Then we're going to build a VPC. That is the first thing we're going to do. Then we're going to create 4 subnets. The first subnet going to be for the Bastiohost. The second subnet going to be a private subnet for our Apache server. The third subnet going to be for our application load balancer, and the fourth subnet going to be for our Nat Gateway. After that, we're going to build some security groups. And after building some security groups, we're going to create a NAT gateway. Then we're going to add more resources as we keep building. But this is how the infrastructure is going to look. So let's jump on it and let's start building it. So let's jump on AWS Management Console. And I already log in and make sure that you are in the right region. My region where I'm going to build my infrastructure are going to be US East 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is to click on VPC. That is the first thing I need to create a VPC. I'm going to click on create VPC. I'm going to select VPC only. I'm going to call it my -VPC. And I'm going to select the IP version 4 seeder or IP version 4 range. I'm going to take 192.168.0.0/16. The tenancy going to stay the same and the tag going to stay the same. And I'm going to click on create a VPC. My VPC is created. The next thing I'm going to do is to create 4 subnets. The first subnet going to be for the Bastion host. The second subnet going to be for the Apache. And the third subnet going to be for the application load balancer. And the last one going to be for the Nat Gateway. So I'm going to come over here on the virtual private cloud and I'm going to click on subnets. And I'm going to click on create subnet. And I'm going to select the VPC ID. That's going to be my -VPC ID. So the first thing I'm going to do is to give it a name. I'm going to call it Bastion subnet. And I'm going to select my availability zone as US East 2A. And I'm going to take my IP range. It's going to be 192.168.1.0/24 this time. And the tag going to stay the same. And I'm going to click on add new subnet. The next subnet going to be the Apache subnet. So I'm going to call it Apache subnet. And I'm going to select US East 2B. And the IP range going to be 192.168.2.0/24. The tag going to stay the same. Then I'm going to add a third subnet. That's going to be a load balancer. I'm going to call it LB subnet. Make sure that your LB subnet is in the same availability zone as your Apache subnet. So the availability zone is US East 2B. I'm going to select the same availability zone, US East 2B, and I'm going to give it a shader. It's going to be 168.192.3.0/24. Then I'm going to click on add new subnet because we are not going to change the tag. It's going to stay the same. And the last going to be the NAT subnet. I'm going to call it NAT.subnet. And it's going to be on availability zone US East 2C. And I'm going to do 192.168. I think it's 4.0/24. You can use whatever IP range you want. I'm just using 1, 2, 3, 4, but you can use whatever you want. And the tags gonna say they stay the same. So I'm going to click on create subnets. All of them are created. So the subnets are created. So the next thing we're going to do is to create the security groups. So we're going to come on to under security and we're going to go to security groups. And we're going to click on create security group. I'm going to call the first one security group for the Bastion security group. And I'm going to call it Bastion-SG. And I'm going to uncheck the VPC because we are not using a default one and select our VPC. And for now, I'm not going to take care of inbound or outbound roads. So we're going to leave it alone for now. So I'm going to click on create security group. The next thing we're going to do is to click again on security group and create a new security group for a load balancer and a Apache server. So we're going to do LB-security group. And we're going to give it a name description LB-SG. We're going to uncheck this one and select our VPC. But this time we're going to add the tags so that we can see them. And the tag going to be uppercase N for name. And the name going to be LB.SG. and I'm going to click on create. Then I'm going to create another one for the Apache server. I'm going to call it Apache security group, and I'm going to put HTTP security group. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to uncheck this one and select my VPC. Since this one is the last security group that we are creating, so we can start fixing the inbound roles and the outbound roles. For our Apache security group, we want to receive traffic for the load balancer using HTTP and from the Bastion group using SSH. So we're going to start it. I'm going to add role and I'm going to go to HTTP. That's going to be on port 80 automatically. And I'm going to select the load balancer security group. The other inbound going to be SSH. And it's going to come from the Bastion host. And as outbound, we're going to leave it as it is. And we click on create security group. The next thing we're going to do is to go back to our security group and do the same thing with the load balancer. I'm going to click on the security group ID of the load balancer. And I'm going to click on edit inbound roles from inbound roles right here. And for the load balancer, I'm going to add two. We can receive traffic from HTTP from anywhere. We can also receive traffic from HTTP. Use HTTPS, from anywhere. And for the outbound roles, we're going to click on edit. We don't want to have it like this, like all traffic. We're going to rescreen our outbound. So we only can reach Apache server using HTTP on port 80 automatically. And we can reach Apache server. So we're going to select Apache security group. And that is what we're going to select for our load balancer security group, inbound and outbound. So I'm going to go back to security groups and I'm going to look for the Bastion host. I'm going to give it a little bit of name. I'm going to call it Bastion SG. So I'm going to click on security group ID of the Bastion host or Bastion security group. And as an inbound role, I'm going to add a new one that's going to be the SSH. We can SSH from anywhere. And the outbound role, we're going to edit it so we don't access anything else other than our Apache server. So we're going to edit and put SSH to our Apache. So we're going to select our Apache security group. And all our security groups are ready. The next thing we're going to do is to create a NAT Gateway. In order for us to do that, we're going to look for virtual private cloud. Then we're going to go down to NAT Gateways. Then we're going to click on create NAT Gateway and we're going to call it NAT1, for example. And we're going to select a subnet for our NAT gateway. And we already created a subnet for our NAT. So we're going to select the subnet for our NAT. It's going to be NAT-subnet. Then for the connectivity type, I want to make it public, right? And as you see, we don't have an elastic IP allocation ID. So I'm going to click on allocate elastic IP wire. I just allocated a Elastic IP. Then I'm going to click on create gateway and it is ready. So the next thing I'm going to do is to create a internet gateway because our VPC is private, but in order for us to access resources inside our VPC, we need to have a gate. So we're going to create an internet gateway. In order for us to do that, we're going to click on internet gateways right here. And we're going to click on create internet gateway. We're going to name it my IGW for internet gateway. And we're going to click on create internet gateway. Now we're going to attach it to our VPC. We can use either attach to a VPC or you can come to actions and click on attach to VPC. And you're going to select your VPC right here. And my VPC name is my-VPC. I'm going to select it. And I'm going to attach internet gateway. Now that my internet gateway is attached, the next thing is to create some routes, because in order for us to communicate, we need some kind of networks. And in order for us to have that network, we need to have some routes as well. So we're going to go to route tables. And I'm going to click on create route table. I'm going to call it my public RT for route table. Then I'm going to select my VPC and I'm going to click on create route table. So this one going to be the public route table. And on the routes, I'm going to come to edit routes and I'm going to add a new route. And the route going to be accessing internet through internet gateway. So I'm going to click on add route and I'm going to select from destination 000-0 is going to be internet. And to reach internet, we're going to go through the internet gateway. And I'm going to select my internet gateway. And I'm going to save it. Now, we have pretty much 3 public subnet. And we're going to come to subnet association and we're going to click on edit subnet association. And we're going to select the load balancer, the Bastiohost, and the Nat subnets. The Apache subnet going to be a private subnet, so no access to internet directly. So we're going to save association. So my public route is ready. I have to create now my private route. I'm going to come back to route tables, click on it, then click on create route table. Then I'm going to call it my-private-RT for route table. And I'm going to select my VPC, then click on create route table. And this route table, we're going to edit the routes. So since this is a private route table, we want to add the route to internet. So the destination is going to be internet. And to go to internet using the private instance, we're going to go through the Nat Gateway. And we're going to select the Nat Gateway -1 that we created. And we're going to save it. And we're going to associate some subnet to use this route. So we're going to say subnet association, click on it, then edit subnet association, then select our private subnet, but the only one we have is the Apache subnet, and we save it. So now our routes are ready. The next thing we're going to do is to go and create our servers. So we're going to go to services, EC2 instance, and we're going to launch the first one. I'm going to launch the instance. I'm going to call this one the Bastion. And I'm going to select CentOS 7 as AMI. I'm going to select this one. So my AMI is selected. I'm going to leave the instance type as T2 micro. And I'm going to select my key pair. My key pair is going to be NIL1. If you don't have one, you can create one using create new key pair link. And for the network setting, this one is the default one, and I'm not using the default one. So I'm going to come on edit, then I'm going to select the proper VPC. Then I'm going to select the Bastion subnet. Over here as subnet, I'm going to select the Bastion one. And since it's the Bastion host, I want my EC2 to be accessible from internet. So I'm going to put on enable auto assign public IP address. And for the security group or the firewall roles, we're going to come and select existing security group, and we're going to select the one we created for the Bastion host. That is the Bastion security group. The rest can stay the same, and I'm going to click on launch instance. We're going to wait a little bit. While this is launching, I'm going to go back again to EC2 and launch another instance. Now it is going to be the Apache server or EC2. I'm going to name it Apache, and I'm going to select the same AMI, CentOS 7. And I'm going to leave it as T2 micro. I'm going to select the same. You don't have to select the same key pair, but I'm going to select the same one, and I'm going to edit the network settings. I'm going to select the VPC we created earlier, and the subnet need to be the Apache subnet. And we're going to disable, it's going to stay disabled. We don't need a public IP address. So we're going to select as firewall role or security group. We're going to select existing group security. And we're going to select our Apache security group. And we can go a little bit under it and go to advanced details. On the advanced details, I want my server to use user data to install Apache and create index-html and put some content into that file. So I have my GitLab repo, and I'm going to put it on my video. So I'm just going to have to copy this one and come back right here and paste it right here. Basically, what I'm saying is that you're going to install HTTPD, then you're going to start it, and you're gonna echo something and put it into a file called index.html. That's going to be on /var/www/html, and I'm going to put other detail inside. So let's go ahead and click launch instance. It is launching, so it's going to take a little bit of time. I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to come back when everything is launched. So let's check and make sure that our instances are up and running. I'm going to go to EC2. I'm going to go to instance running. And I have my two instances running. I'm going to click on instance ID of the Bastion host. Then I'm going to click on network. Then I'm going to click on example. I'm going to copy this one, and I'm going to go to my terminal. I'm going to paste it. Since I'm using CentOS 7, I'm going to change the user. It's not going to be EC2-user. It's going to be CentOS. And I'm going to change this one a little bit. I use SSH add to add my keys. So I just need to do -A. And I press enter. So I'm logged in to my Bastion host. I'm going to go back to my terminal again and go back to my instance and click on Apache server, then click on connect. And I'm going to copy this one and come back to my terminal and paste it. But this time I'm going to change again the user because we are using CentOS 7. So the user should be CentOS. And I may leave the key or I may just remove it. It's up to you, but it's the same thing. So I'm going to press enter. And now I'm logged in to my Apache server. I'm going to do sudo systemctl status httpd just to make sure that Apache is running. And you guys can see it is running fine and it is unable. So we are good. The next thing we're going to do is to go back to the console and go back to EC2 and we're going to start building a load balancer and a target group. So we're going to go down to load balancing and we're going to click on load balancer. And I'm going to click on create either Raya or Raya. Create load balancer. I'm going to create an application load balancer. So I'm going to click on create and I'm going to call it ALB. It's going to be internet facing and it's going to be for IP version 4. And I'm going to select my VPC. That's going to be my -VPC. And I'm going to select my availability zone. I selected my availability zone. And for the security group, I'm going to uncheck this one and select the one we created earlier. Then I'm going to start with HTTP first to make sure that I'm able to have access to my Apache server using my load balancer. But right here, we don't have a target group. So we're going to click on create target group. And I'm going to select instances and I'm going to call it TG. And it's going to be HTTP on port 80 and my VPC. Make sure that you select the proper VPC. And everything looks good. I'm just going to click on next. And I'm going to select my Apache server right here, EC2 instance. Make sure that over here it says 80 and I'm going to include it as a pending below. Then I'm going to click on create target group. My target group is created. I can come back to my load balancer and refresh it right here. And when I'm going to do this, I'm going to see my target group right here. I'm going to select it. Then I'm going to go all the way down and I'm going to click on create load balancer. And I'm going to go to view load balancing. It is provisioning my load balancer. So it's going to take long. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to come back when it's going to be ready. So let's refresh and click on refresh wire. And we see that the state says active. So my load balancer is ready. I can click on the name ALB and I see that I have the DNS name. I'm going to copy this one. I'm going to open a new window and I'm going to paste it. And as you guys can see, we are able to access our Apache server using a load balancing. So now it is time to set up our auto scaling. And to do that, the first thing we're going to do is to create a template from our Apache server. Then we're going to create a auto scaling group using that template. So let's jump back to the console and we're going to go where we have our two EC2 instances. And I'm going to click on the Apache one. And I'm going to go to actions, image and templates. And I'm going to click create template from instance. I'm going to name it my template Apache. I'm going to give it the same description, right? And over here, I'm going to click on provide guidelines to help me set up a template that I can use with EC2 auto scaling. I'm going to click on it. You can add a template tags, but I'm not going to do that. And you guys going to see that we're going to have our CentOS wire. Leave it like this, manual setup instances. The instance type going to be the T2 micro, but you can use whatever you want. And the key pair going to be an IL1. As my subnet, since we are using a templating, so we're going to remove the subnet. I'm going to use don't include in the launch template. And for security group, we have our Apache security group. That is good. For the rest, it's going to stay unchanged. And we're going to click on do not include in launch template and do not include in launch template. And I think that is all. And we're going to click on create launch template. And our template is ready. Let's go back to our template. We're going to go click over here and we can see it, or we can click on launch template and we're going to see that our template is ready. The next thing we're going to do is to go all the way down to auto scaling and click on auto scaling group. It's going to take a little bit of time, but that is fine. I'm going to pause the video, or I'm not going to pause it because it's right there. So I'm going to click on create auto scaling group and I'm going to name it auto sc-1, and I'm going to select my launch template, the one I just created, my template 1. And I'm going to click on next, right? Make sure that you select the right VPC right here. The network should be the right VPC. And the availability zone, select the Apache availability zone. And click on next. We're going to attach to an existing load balancer. And we're going to select our target group, existing load balancer target group. We're going to select this one. And for the VPC lattice integration option, we are not going to touch anything there. For the health check, it's going to stay the same. And we're going to click on next. How many we desire? We desire to have, let's say we desire to have 3. And the minimum should be 2. And the maximum should be 4, right? And let's create as a scaling policy. Let's create a target tracking scaling policy. So over here, we're going to say we want to track the CPU utilization and let's put it 5%. So you guys can see how it's going to create our EC2 instances when our main EC2 instance reach 5% of CPU utilizations. So we're going to click on next and we click on next, then we click on next and we click on create auto scaling group, and it is provisioning and updating our auto scaling group. I can come over here and we can go to EC2 instance dashboard, and you guys going to see, if I uncheck this one, you guys going to see that we have multiple Apache server getting ready, because my Apache server is for sure using more than 5% of CPU utilization. So it's going to create automatically other Apache servers. And let's wait a little bit and we're going to refresh it right here. As you guys can see, we're going to have our public IP address right here and our private IP address right here. This one should not change. This one is the one that we're going to check because we have private instances. So this one is the one that will start changing. I'm just going to start refreshing, and we're still waiting for them to be ready. I'm going to come back to the console, and I'm going to come back right here, and I'm going to refresh this one. You guys see still provisioning, so we still have to wait a little bit. I can click on this one, and we're going to see the activities. And as you guys can see, it is launching 3 more EC2 instances, and the maximum is 4. So let's come right here and let's check it. So I paused the video to make sure that all the instances are ready. So you guys can see that all our instances are ready. We said that we can create up to 4 more instances maximum. And since I put the CPU utilization to 5%, we're going to have in total 5 Apache server, the main one, plus the 4 coming from auto scaling, and everything looks ready. As you guys can see the status check. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to my load balancer and watch over here. You guys going to see that over here is going to change a little bit every time I refresh. You guys see it's changing. It's now 2.199, 2.69, 2.147, 2.201, 2.65 again, 2.199 again, and so on. This is how we set up our AWS auto scaling. And you're going to see that when the CPU utilization goes down, we're going to start seeing our EC2 instances destroy. And those EC2 instances are coming from auto scaling group. And I use 5% just to show you how we do that. But usually it's going to be like 75, 60, 80 is up to you. And I hope this video going to help you. Give this video a thumbs up if it helps you, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.